Hello, my name is Myra Tanksley, and I am recording this on August the 17th, 2021. I am a single professional mother of a 28-year-old African American male with high functioning autism. His name is Marquise. I'm single, I'm professional. I've been an RN almost close to 35 years. I have a associate degree in nursing and also a bachelor's degree in nursing. Um, I have been a available mother, always have loved my son very much, have never abused or neglected my son. I'm going to say that because they have tried to make me an unfit a mother, but that's because of the racism. Because as a black mother, I'm not supposed to, like the white mothers and white fathers can jump up and down and throw a spasm and demand things for their children with developmental disabilities or autism. But if you're black and do that, they're going to slander you. Because I have realized that these racist white people, and not all white people in America are racist, but the majority of them are, and none of them understand it. I have never found a racist that wasn't ignorant. But I have realized that we were never meant to be anything other than slaves to them. And each generation has kept the racism together or maintained. Because those people that did what they did back in 1776, it's been going on since 1776, they're all dead and gone. So who's doing the racism now? Is it the trees? Or is it this current generation of whites? So, and I realized, I said, that's all they have ever meant for us to be. So when black people dare, it's a sin. It's almost like you're committing a real sin when you demand that you are treated equally or treated humanely for yourself or your loved ones. That's a big sin. Because racist whites don't think black people have any worth, and they sure don't want to hear you asking that you be treated civilly. That's the reason why you had the Civil Rights Act, because white people, and when they have that perception, and one thing I forgot to mention, I'm also a Christian too. I've read the Bible. I'm reading the Bible for the 5th time all the way through. That's where I get the truth from. That's the authority. And I wish people would just become saved, get into the Word of God, and see how God feels about things and how He does things. And so I don't understand everything in the Bible. The book of Revelation is very symbolic. I don't understand all the different symbols and things in the book of Revelation, but there's a lot of things that the Lord has taught me through His Word. And I know oppressing people, hating people, racism goes against what God, His commandments. It offends and it angers God. And I know God will punish people. Yes, He's a loving God. He came in the person of His Son, who died one of the most excruciating deaths, that He just came and destroyed the works of the devil. And He will come back and clean all this mess up. But for these racist people that think they're the master race and think that they're all powerful and unstoppable, you're not offending Black Lives Matter as much as you're offending God. And sometimes God will just show Himself strong and proud in situations to let people know, I'm a just God. I have all power and authority. And people don't even know it. And sometimes they're actually trying to outbox God. Especially if it's a Christian, because we're taught to stand back, step back, and let God handle it. Let Him fight our battles. And I always use the example of the Israelites and the Egyptians. How God wasn't going to deal with the Egyptians anymore at the Red Sea. He told Moses, be still and know that I'm God. And tell the Israelites, after today, they're not going to see the Egyptians anymore. God has a point where, everything is always already taken care of. God doesn't have to figure out anything. is already worked out. While we're trying to figure it out, he's got it worked out. And he knew that was the way he was going to destroy the Egyptians. He chose to destroy them that way. And just because you don't see God's, what can I say, his justice manifest, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. God has his own appointed time and ways when he does things. The Bible teaches us that God's ways is higher than our ways. The Bible teaches us that God has appointed times when he does things. At the appointed time, at the appointed time. And a lot of times you got these people that are used to getting away with dirt, corruption, racism, hate for long times. Oh, it's been long. It's been a long time they've been doing it and getting away with it. And they think they can do that stuff forever. But there's a just God. And you cannot escape his justice. And you cannot deny who he is. God doesn't need anybody to believe in him for him to be who he is. And he's a just God. He's not a racist. He's not a hater. So for all the haters and all the people that do corruption and been getting away with it stuff, your time is coming. In this life, when I read the Bible, I'm reading stories of God's love and mercy, but I'm also reading stories of God's justice and how he has dealt with people. Vengeance is mine, I will repay. The verse or the scripture above that verse tells us why God will sometimes seek vengeance on people. It says, let God's anger do it. You don't want to be making God angry. The book of Psalms tells us that he cares about the oppressed, not the oppressor. Jesus tells us, and I'm going to, because he said positive or negative, but he said, whatever you do to the least, you do it to me. It's a big deal how you treat other people. And it offends and angers God when you mistreat other people. Jesus said when it's the least. And that doesn't mean that person's inferior to you. It means that they probably might not have the same resources. You know, they might not be able to advocate for themselves. They might not, because of the different situations, the economics or whatever. And Jesus said, what you have done to them, you have done it to me. And that he would punish people. He would tell those people to go to hell if you did not help a helpless person. Now you can just imagine how it is when you do not, or let me say, you abuse or neglect or exploit a helpless person. God doesn't like it when you don't help a helpless person. But when you abuse and neglect and exploit them, the book of Psalms says God is angry with the wicked. He's angry with sin. So on that backdrop, and I love to preach, I have been advocating for my son, speaking out, requesting, demanding that he is not mistreated. This is a very wicked, racist country. That's the reason why I'm not surprised at anything I see going on in America. These are the last days, the beginning of sorrows. And like the coronavirus, it's a wake-up call. And it's a biblical plague, so it's going to affect the whole world. But I know God sometimes will intensify things on certain people, certain areas, certain countries, according to their sin. Sometimes he'll make it worse for that particular entity or person. And I think America has been hit harder with this virus than any other country. But mankind can't stop it. They can't start it. That's under God's control. All mankind can do is protect themselves from it with the masks, with the vaccines. But it's really out of their control. They don't know anything about how many strains or variants that this particular virus has. But it's a wake-up call. But the sad thing about it is that Jesus teaches in the Bible, in the Mount Olive Discourse, he said, when this stuff happens, doesn't mean the end is near, it's the beginning of sorrow, but it will be like the birth pains of a woman. When a woman's in true labor, then her contractions get more frequent, and they intensify, they get worse. So, and then when you look at all the things that are happening, the wildfires, the like I said, this virus, floods, and like I said, some of this stuff is also global too. Historical floods in Europe, and it's just all of this stuff is the earthquakes. You can't even keep up with those and stuff. It's the beginning of sorrows, and God is about as real as the nose on your face. So on that backdrop, my son has been a victim of ongoing abuse, neglect, and exploitation by a corrupt racist system, a greedy system that's exploiting him for money while he lives in poverty, and has been and continues to be abused and neglected by unfit staff. With me being an advocate for my son and loving him, and then also being a nurse, I have spoken out about it to them. I have requested and demanded that my son not be mistreated. I have also, because I'm not full of hot air. I don't have to sit up and make up evil, wicked things on evil, wicked, racist people. Because the Lord taught me, if it's a good tree, it's gonna have good fruit. If it's a bad, rotten tree, it's gonna have rotten fruit. So you don't have to make up things, or people will show who they are. And so I have made sure that I have, collected the evidence. So I'm an evidence girl. I believe in collecting evidence. Recordings, documents, pictures, photographs, whatever. I just believe in doing that. And you have to do that with corrupt racist people. Because the whole system is stacked against you. All these people work in concert with each other. And with me being black, that's why I said racism. Of course, racism is, I don't approve of it, but I know how it works. I have the knowledge. I understand how it works. It doesn't mean I understand that it should exist, but I know how it works. A lot of people don't even know what racism is or how it works. And it's just, and then they try to complicate it or blame the victim. You can't be the oppressed and the oppressor at the same time. Lesson number one. And when you know what racism is, and know what ism means, which is a suffix that means system. So when you say racism, you're talking about something that is throughout. And it is in America. It's everywhere. It always has been. It always has been. So if you know the meaning of the word, and it's based upon race, that's the reason why racism is such a terrible thing, because it affects the victim race in every area of their life, and then you're judged by your race. Because racist people don't see, you can be a Martin Luther King, a Mother Teresa, or whatever, but they don't see that. So when I would come in there, all they seen was a black mother. They didn't see that I was a mother that loved my child, or that I was a professional mother, a knowledgeable mother. All they see is that I wasn't white. And that wasn't supposed to be for me as a black mother. That's only for white people. They can, like I said, they can raise sand, kick up dust, and everything else. And it's okay for them to speak out about treatment or services for their loved one with autism. But when I did it, they went ahead and slandered me. So, like I was saying, I am an evidence girl. I will collect evidence. So they went ahead and took my guardianship of my son away back in 2013. gave it to a very racist, corrupt, evil, unfit lawyer by the name of Erin L. Sanford. She works for the Nye Law Group, and she's just a signature for them. And so she also works for Probate Court. And before that, my son was in Columbus Developmental Center because they took him out of the community and put him there. And he was also abused and neglected at Columbus Developmental Center. Now, that's a state of Ohio ICF MR facility. ICF MR means Intermediate Care Facility for the Mentally Retarded. And I only got 60 minutes, so you're going to hear me really trying to talk at times. And he was abused and neglected. I got pictures, recordings, and documents from that time period. I hate to do it, but I'll do that with corrupt, racist people. So in March of 2015, he was put out in the community, and the ongoing abuse, neglect, and exploitation continue because they're all making money off of him. Sanford gets his SSI check while he lives in poverty in a terrible, rundown neighborhood, while he's being abused and neglected by unfit, abusive staff that don't even know what autism is. And like I said, she ain't nothing but a signature. She don't care nothing about my son because that's not her child. She doesn't have an emotional attachment to him like I do as his mother. So they put him out in the community in that neighborhood. Then because, and I always have collected evidence like I've just talked about, but I start putting it on Facebook in 2014. So when I put it on Facebook in 2014, that really made them know we don't want him to, because he's high functioning. We don't want him talking to her because he's able to tell her things. Plus, my son would also, express to me how much he missed me, he loved me, and he wants to come back home. But he also would tell me things too, because he could tell me, so and so hit me, and I got plenty of tapes with him telling me these things. And so they got where they didn't want me to have contact with him. And he came out, like I said, March 2015. They were also doing that over at the state facility too. Whenever he would get injured or being restrained a lot, and they would go ahead and stop me from seeing him because they didn't want me to see the injuries. They didn't want him talking to me. And I have, let me say this real quick. I have 4 pages on Facebook. And the audio tape page, you go to my retained, so you can see the 4 links of the pages, has some of the audio recordings of my son. I taped them too, but I would tape conversations with him where people can hear from his own voice, his own words of what the hell he was going through, the suffering that they were putting him through. And he's still suffering because he loves and misses and adores me. And I said, for him not to be able to have any contact with a loving, professional, available Christian mother. That's why I said now, to me, this is a very evil, wicked country. But I don't expect everybody to feel that way because everybody don't have the same experience that I have. Like a white person when they're waving, I'm a patriot, and waving the flag. Yeah, because America has been good to you. You don't have that experience that I have as a black mother. So that's the reason why. But I'm not going to wave a flag and say life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness and can't see my own son. He can't see his own mother. That's just backwards to me. I'm not going to say that. And I shouldn't say it because it wouldn't be true. Or justice for all and stuff. And it's always been that way in America. And God has actually blessed America and let America prosper, but that's over with now. America is under severe judgment for its primary persistent sin of systemic racism, a sin that offends and angers God because it goes against the second greatest commandment of loving your neighbor as yourself. The first greatest commandment is loving God with all your heart, soul, spirit, and stuff. The second one is loving your neighbor as yourself. And he will hold people, countries, whatever, accountable for the way they have mistreated other people. God is not a racist and he's not a hater. But you can't tell people that because they don't care about God, they don't think about God. But he exists, whether you believe it or not, and he's the God of justice. So, in saying all of that, I wasn't able to see him. When I say wasn't, was I wasn't allowed. They had stopped our contact from March 2015. But the last time I had seen him was like before this past June. They had stopped all visits March 2015. And then I seen him through my own efforts and God's intervention in July of 2015. And then for like 6 years, they wouldn't allow him to call me. And that was from December 2018. And then they would not allow him to have any contact with me. From March 2015, because July 2015, that was through my own efforts. But from March 2015 to the Lord letting me see him June the 24th, 2021. Because I prayed. I've been praying. I'm a Christian. I ain't going to give up on Marquise. I ain't going to give up on Jesus. And I said, they're trying to break up our family. And the Lord said, I got this thing. Because like he did with the Israelites and the Egyptians. And it was like, I'm done with the Egyptians. I'm going to destroy this army. And y'all move on and go on over to Mount Sinai and get the 10 Commandments and go on. Because sometimes God will just destroy people or move them out because he don't want to deal with the evil and the sin anymore. And it's a terrible thing when you think you're more powerful than God. And a lot of people live that way. Because they've been getting away with dirt so long. And God's got his own point of time when he'll deal with that person. And I always say this life. In this life, he'll get people. You have to wait till you bust hell wide open. So, June the 24th, 2021. And I've been praying. I said, I want to tell him I love him. I want him to know he still has a mom. 6 years, ain't no telling what. I said, I want him to hear me tell him I love him. And I want him to know that he has a mom and that he still has you. Now remember, he's autistic now. It's June the 24th, 2021. The Lord made it happen because ain't nobody going to block God's will for anybody. I said, because you don't want to find yourself in the ring with God when you're dealing with a Christian, And Marquise ain't going through what he's going through because he deserves it. He ain't done nothing to nobody. He's got a developmental disability. But the Lord had him out there sitting down. And I went by there and I seen him and I stopped. No mother's going to just walk away and keep going. And he jumped up. Because first, the Lord, said, there he is. And I got up crying and said, Marquise. And he remembered my voice. Ain't heard it in 6 years. Well, he hadn't heard it since 2018 in December. But he wasn't allowed. And if he doesn't see me, it's because he doesn't allow, or he hasn't been allowed to see me. Or if he doesn't call me, it's because he hasn't been allowed to call me. It's not like, oh, I don't want to see my mom, I don't want to call him. It's because they haven't allowed him to. But when I said Marquise, he recognized my voice because he wasn't facing me. And he looked over there. He said, it's my mom. And he jumped up. And I got a partial video after he said, it's my mom. And because I was standing outside the gate, because he lives in a terrible neighborhood. So they had to put a gate around, a metal gate around the thing. And he said, I miss you. And, it was just, and we hugged. And then I was just shocked. He has a bunch of skin areas that are discolored, completely white. He didn't have them when I seen him in 2015. And some of them are very raised. And he said sometimes they itch real bad and they bleed. He had them on one wrist, both hands, fingers. And of course, I didn't get to see all of his skin. And then he had tooth decay. One corner of his teeth, the teeth were blackened and rotten. These pictures are on my um, Facebook pages, and I'm sorry I didn't give you the names of all of them, but you can go to Myron Tanksley and you'll see my 4 pages. And then he had on both cheeks there was like a rash, like pimples, black pimples, and then on one cheek he had like it's almost like a scar that was going down across from his temple down to his cheek, and then it looked like they had just cut his hair because I had filed a investigation, my fourth, since I had they took that guardianship away from me, which was wonderful for them because you don't want a loved one because they don't have to tell me anything, and that's why they do it. They block you legally. They don't have to tell you anything if anything's going on, anything happened. Um, and of course, the racist, terrible lawyer Sanford, she don't, like I said, she don't care nothing about him. She just get making money. God gonna really deal with her. I said that's what because that stuff offends God, but you can't tell people that. I said you're sinning against God's commandments, not mine. You're sinning against God, and He's a just God. He will punish sin. So anyway, so um, when I seen him, he had new debilitating health conditions. His teeth, like I said, in the corner, it was rotten in one corner. Uh, the dandruff, they had just cut his hair, but he was scratching his hair because he said, "Oh, my hair itches." Now that's on the video, and you can see the dandruff just flying off of his scalp. Then he had his cheeks. His cheeks were full of uh, uh, pimples or rash. And then he had that mark, and then, like I said, his hands was covered. But that's all I could see of his body. And plus, we're outside, so I don't know whatever else was going on with his body. But you can see those pictures on Facebook. And so the staff seen me, so they went ahead and called the police. But the Lord said, turn off the video and get pictures. So I got pictures, but I prayed with my son, and he looked at me. He said, Am I ready to come home now? I said, Jesus is going to bring you back home. He said, is that your car? And I said, that's our car. I said, but Jesus is going to bring you back home. Because they don't want me, tell them, the devil don't want you giving hope or making, um, like, not giving my son hope. They don't want me telling him. They want him to think that they are powerful. And I said, no, I'm a Christian. I believe in God, and I believe in God's power. And that's when God sometimes can be so angry because you got evil people that think they're more powerful than God, because they've been getting away with dirt for 15, 20 years, 25 years. And so they think they're never going to be stopped. They're unstoppable. And that offends God. Nobody is more powerful than God. But you got human beings that think that way. And so I prayed with him because we always used to pray and stuff because I know my son is not going through what he's going through because he deserves it. Because God will use people that other people count out. And, to them, he's just another black male that they can make money. He's on the books. The agencies make money from him. Sanford's making money for him. He doesn't have any worth, and he doesn't have no quality of life. I said, because my son used to do Special Olympics and he got hobbies and things that he likes and of course he misses me most of all. I said he doesn't have no quality of life. Can't even see his own mother that he still grieves for and he still misses, So anyway, I'm at 30 minutes. So I just filed my fourth complaint against Sanford and the system for abusing and neglecting and exploiting my son. Of course, I just got the deposition back, and I'm not surprised. The corrupt, racist, licensed social worker is going to march to the orders of the employer, which is a corrupt, racist, Probate Court, and the chief investigator is a guy by the name of Eric Horvath, who is very corrupt. I told him about Marquise being abused and neglected way back at CDC. He swept it under the rug, and that's what I said. They're going to deal with God's justice. I said, because it angers God. Because I can't put that down. Only God can put that down. When you got an army full of racist, corrupt, evil people that are in concert with each other, and go along to get along, and to keep the job. So this particular so-called court investigator is a licensed social worker, and they're notorious for slandering people. It's not true because it's slander. They'll lie on you, but they know how to really try to make you, and she tried to make me look like some kind of demon and stuff. So I'm going to pick this letter apart before I run out of time. She said that, and of course they'll lie on Marquise too, but they really slander me and stuff. And she said when she arrived, said my son lives in a townhouse. You should see the townhouse. It's one of those real tiny townhouses. As soon as you go into the front door, you take 10 steps and you're at the back door. That's what he lives in. The neighborhood is very terrible because somebody was just killed right. There was drive-by shooting, I forgot, maybe 2 years ago, down the street, and then next in the alley they found somebody dead and stuff. It's a very terrible. That's why they got a gate around it, because it's so terrible. A lock gate. It said that he appeared very comfortable in his surroundings. And my son, for 6 years, I think he tries to. He doesn't want to be abused and beaten and restrained like he's always been. So I'm sure that he has never done anything. They accuse him of having behaviors. I said, well, he probably was having those behaviors because y'all don't know anything about autism, and you were triggering the autistic individual with your noise and not knowing how to approach him and being unfit and not trained. I said, because he doesn't want to just sit up, but they're not the only ones that have said that. The school didn't know how to manage his behavior because they didn't know about autism. I said, well, while you're sitting up there talking about trying to make my son to be some type of real terrible person with a behavior problem, how about you learning about autism and seeing that, because they never would blame themselves or even the environment. I said, well, maybe you need to find out what autism is, and because I gave him a trigger list and realized that you're triggering this individual with autism because you don't know, noise, the sensory, overload and all that kind of stuff. So they say his behaviors had gotten better. But they're trying to say that since he's not with me, his behaviors have gotten better. Well, when they put him over there, he was already at CDC having all kind of, sensory overloads, morning, noon, and night. They were restraining him. I got it all on tape. I recorded everything. It's all on tape. But if he would go into a meltdown, it was basically because it wasn't his fault. It was their fault. Because they were probably putting him in sensory overload or abusing him and that sort of thing. So they said the home was clean. Well, I bet it was when they knew that you were coming out to visit them. And adequately furnished. So what is adequately furnished? But remember now that she's going to go along to get along, and she's going to slander mom, the black mom, make her unfit and all this kind of stuff, and say everything is easy, honky-dory. He's just living the life so she can keep her little sorry government job. And this chick had the nerve to say in this letter and try to make it look like since I showed up unannounced that I just threw everything, just acted a fool and stuff. I said, no. I said, because my son was glad to see me. And I said, and I wasn't going to just keep on going. And I said, plus Jesus set that up. I said, so you need to watch your back. I said, because he ain't happy with the way y'all try to destroy our family bond and try to destroy our family. And I said, but I'd rather be a Christian that preaches and talks about Jesus because she said I was leaving her messages, threatening messages and stuff. I said, no, I don't leave threatening messages. I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you that you need to be worried about God's justice. But I'd rather be somebody like me than somebody like you sitting up in a government job and allow helpless people to be abused, neglected, and exploited. I said, because, honey, I said, that's a sure ticket, one-way ticket to hell. I said, so who's violent? Who's worse? So, so they said he was dressed in clean clothing that was season appropriate. Yeah, because they knew they were coming over. And see, these social workers know how to put all this stuff in here. Said his oral care appears adequate, as did his nail care, but he's got rotten teeth in his mouth, and I got the pictures of that. His hair appeared clean as well, but the scalp was just full of dandruff. Therefore, the scalp needs to be clean as well as the hair, Miss Social Worker. Marquise's peers were clean and camp. Said he was polite, but showed little interest in my visit. He was able to correctly identify the date, but only after looking at a calendar. And he's very smart. He's high functioning. He doesn't know what medications he takes, and they have kept him on Thorazine for years, and lithium cogentin. They don't even give people Thorazine anymore. They used to give that. We call it a hardline psychotic. They used to give that to people with schizophrenia. It's a very bad tranquilizer, and he's been on that for a while. And Sanford refuses to allow him to go off of that unless it has just recently happened, because he doesn't remember what medications he's on. Said he was happy in his home when he said he was happy in his home. Well, he could be coached to say things too, because I'm sure they told him what to say. And, because they don't come unannounced. They knew that there was a investigation, and that the so-called ethical court investigator was going to be coming out to the home. So of course they had everything together. Now I wonder if this girl's been with him for 6 years, because it said his behaviors have improved greatly over the course of his time living in Mayfair Complex. Because he was at CDC, the state facility, he went from the state facility over into where he's at in this little rundown townhome. And they were restraining him and putting him in sensory overload morning, noon, and night. Because I got the conversations with me calling about my son with the staff, asking to see and talk to him, and Marquise telling me things and stuff. And when he initially moved into his home, because they don't know that, he is grieving his mother. He wants to be with his mother, a mother that he loves and that he adores. And that can make him, that could be a trigger. That could be, especially if he's being mistreated. But that could be a trigger. Thinking about and wanting the comfort and the companionship of his mother. Because he always going to have my love and support. And that's what I said. I know that they think we animals and stuff. I said, but I ain't going to walk away from my son. I said, I don't care what these racist white people think. And the black people that go along with them. The house Negroes that go along with them. I said, because I love my child just as much as they love their child. I said, I'm not going to walk away from my son. That's why I stopped when I seen him out there. And I believe the Lord had his hand in doing that too. And I sure ain't going to give up on God. Because he has the ultimate power and authority and decision in this thing. Our lives are in his hand, and so are theirs. But the devil don't want to hear that. That's why let me finish this real quick because I'm running out of time. It says, it was no that prefers to spend his time. He said he's occasionally going grocery shopping. But I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. And they most recently has agreed to consider going to a day program a couple days a week. He ain't getting no kind of vocational thing. He's not getting no kind of sports. He doesn't get to watch his cable TV that he used to watch. He doesn't get to uh, go play basketball with Special Olympics, or I used to take him to the playground, let him play basketball. My son likes to listen to music. He likes to watch TV. He's got hobbies and stuff. They're all in the closet waiting for him. Because I believe Jesus. I don't believe them. So he doesn't have a quality of life. He doesn't get to spend family time with his own mother and stuff. So, and then it said that she talked to this girl again and said that now I went on June the 24th, but she said on June the 30th she spoke with her and that I had came to the thing unannounced, and I proceeded to cause a disruption in daily activities of the resident of the complex, which wasn't true, and it resulted in the police being called. No, they called the police on me because they didn't want me there. It wasn't because I was disrupting anything. They didn't want me there, and it wasn't because I was there a criminal. Now remember, the licensed social worker got to slander mom and try to make mom look really bad. And when the police came, and I actually had parked my car because it's by an alley, and I had my car kind of parked in the alley. So the police asked me to move my car, and she asked me to leave, and I left. I didn't get a ticket. I didn't get a citation, and I sure didn't get arrested. So no criminal activity and no disruption. But they called the police because I'm not supposed to be there. They don't want Mama Bear to be there to see her child and see all the abuse and neglect. Because all the stuff that I seen on him, those are signs of abuse and neglect that he didn't have when he was at home. So then this racist witch got to talking about, it says she was viewed taking videos and pictures, and that when I finally exited the scene, that Marquise apologized for my behavior. No, he probably was up there worried that y'all were going to probably do something to him since I showed up. Because, no, I wasn't supposed to come over there because they had been keeping him hidden and isolated. He was no longer hidden and isolated that day because of Jesus. But they don't want me to see my son and take pictures and videos, which I did because Jesus made sure I did it. And they called the police, but the police told me, said, "Oh, well, you know, you got your car out there." I said, "I'm sorry, I had to stop because I see my son and stuff." But I wasn't doing nothing wrong. Like I said, I didn't get a ticket, I didn't get a citation. They didn't tell me to put my hands behind my back or anything. I got in my car and drove off, praising God that I got to see my son. Then she said Meyer followed this visit with postings on social media of pictures she took of Marquise. Somebody tell the racist witch that I've been putting, my pages have been on Facebook. The first page, I got 4 of them, and I created the first one in 2014. So this is not the first time. But again, this is a licensed social witch that, and they'll slander you something terrible. They're notorious for slandering you. And I had to laugh when I read that. And I'm going to keep on putting postings on there because there ain't nothing they can do about it. Because I'm not slandering them. Ain't nobody can clap back and say, "Oh, we're going to get you for defamation of character," or "you're whatever." They can't do it. It's not slander when it's true and when you got evidence. Because that's where I do it. I back up if I say it, you better believe there's evidence to go along with it. Because I don't just sit up here and make up. You don't have to make up stuff on evil people. It'll be there. And then it says, between the dates of blah, 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 I received several voicemail messages from a caller who identified herself as Myra. The phone number I identify on the message matches the one I identify as Myra's number. These messages were long, somewhat rambling, and with threatening undertones, threatening. And she reported that Marquise was being isolated, neglected, and has no quality of life. Yeah, isolated and neglected from his family and from his own mother. Yes, witch. Yeah, I'd say that. She stated that his caregivers were corrupt and racist, and that I didn't say you all are destroying the black family. I said they didn't have respect for black family. Because this is just another generation of whites that's following their forefathers. They didn't have it back in slavery time, and they still don't have it. And Meyer warned that God is not happy with you and he will expose you all. And I do believe that. I believe that God will expose, because God could be using Marquise, because he'll use people that other people count out. He could be using me. He doesn't have to go through human means. God doesn't need human assistance, but he does it the way he fits or chooses to do it. She repeatedly stated that God would punish those involved with Marquise. Now, and I have told her that. I said, God will deal with you, because I'm a Christian. I ain't going to leave God out of this thing. But don't expect for no devil or no demon to going to be pleased to hear you say anything about God. I'm sure it just, the demons in her probably were going crazy. They're not going to want to hear that. They don't want to believe it, and they don't want to accept it. So no demon, is going to, and like I said, I believe, I know the Holy Spirit can be given to human beings. The Bible said that God will give us the Holy Spirit. I believe that there are people that have demons in them. They're so evil and full of hate and hatred for Jesus and other people and stuff. I believe that we know they can be possessed. People can be possessed by demons, because we can look at the man that had a mental health problem. He was doing what in Mark, I believe it's chapter 5. This man was cutting himself. He was doing it because he was full of a mob of demons. He had a legion of demons in him. He wasn't physically handicapped. He was mentally handicapped. And he was just basically cutting himself and just doing all kind of, he was suffering from mental illness, but it was caused by demons. And so I believe that some of these people, you could just, and they're not going to want to hear any, it tears their ears up. They don't want to hear anything about God or Jesus and whatever and stuff. So she said that pictures of Marquise have been posted on social media on the page she manages pertaining to Marquise. And they've been there, like I said, since 2014. Now what? It just ain't started. And then she says that when she said, and I had to laugh when she said that I had called her up, like she's the only one that has received any calls from me. I've been calling about my son ever since he came out of my belly, witch. And that's just, I'm calling it a witch, not the B word. Because like I said, I believe, because I don't see how they sleep at night. I said, I couldn't sit up there in a government job and deny the abuse and neglect and exploitation of helpless people. I just couldn't stay in a job like that. But she was trying to act like, it was such a big deal because I called her. I said, honey, I don't just sit at home and think about it. I pray about it, but I believe in action with works. Sometimes God will tell us to stand still and let him take over and fight the battle. But sometimes he likes to see that faith with action. But she was going like, I said, because I've been calling teachers and from the time my son was born. And especially if there's a problem, I'm going to give you a call. And I might give you a call more than once. So it ain't nothing new in all of that. But she was trying to, and then she said that Sanford has acted in a manner that served the best interests of Marquise. And he walking around with all kind of skin conditions. Just go to the Facebook pages, you'll see it. And go from the very beginning. I tell people to go from the very beginning, meaning when I first created the page, and then you can really see all the other evidence throughout the years before June the 24th, 2021. I got plenty of documents, recordings, and pictorial evidence. But start at the beginning because other than June the 24th, I haven't been able to talk to Marquise or see Marquise. So if you go from the beginning, when I first created the page, then you'll be able to see I got just hundreds of pictures and recordings and stuff. Said his needs and well-being are being met and adequately supported. And he walking around, can't even get his head greased. I said, all they do is put oil on his hair, and then maybe it'll stop it. But like I said, on the video, you can see the dandruff just popping off his head. And he said, my head is itching. And so his needs are being met. And he can't even spend time with his family. And see, Jesus said, I'm done with this thing, meaning I'm about ready to end this thing. I'm not going to put up with these people. I'm going to get them out of y'all's life. Y'all going to live that life that I destined for y'all to live. And he said, that's not y'all's destiny. And I'm going to show them and the world it's not y'all's destiny. He said, I'm going to show them that I'm in charge. He'll show you who's in charge. So, that's basically it. So she knows how to put all the words in here. His needs are being met. His well-being is adequately supported. He's in the least restricted environment that best meet his needs. His behaviors have improved. And people probably say, well, why is he not with you? It's not because I abused or neglected or exploited my son. It's because as a black mother, and I got to get ready to go because we're at 50 minutes. As a black mother, I dare to challenge a system and speak up and advocate for my son and demand that, that he be treated with dignity, humanely. Demand that he have a quality of life. And that's a sin. The sin is you're black. That's your big sin. You ain't supposed to be speaking out as a black person. You're supposed to act like a good old house Negro, put your head down, and not say nothing. And it's a shame. That's why I said this country's already going down the tubes. It's in the tubes. Because of that's an evil, wicked sin. Racism is a very evil, wicked sin. It's a very wicked sin. And God is tired of it too. And he's just letting everything blow up in America's face. But that stuff still persists to this day. It's never went away. I said, when has America ever not been racist? It's always been racist. But black people, we're not supposed to stand up for our rights or anything. Then they're ready to lynch you or kill you or slander you and your records and stuff. And I had to tell her, I said, because it's violent what you people were doing. Because violence doesn't always have to be physical. It could be just sitting up plotting against black people, doing what this witch did, lying, slandering somebody in a document. It doesn't always have to be physical. And I told her, I let her know what a violent, low-life person she was. I said, I'd rather be, and I said, because I'm going to preach. I love preaching and talking about God. I said, that's a part of my being. So when I talk to a demon or devil, they're going to hear about Jesus and God. But she don't want to hear it because that's the demon in her. I said, but, you could take it the way you want to take it. I said, but I'd rather be a Christian talking about God than sitting up and denying and covering up and sweeping under the rug the abuse, neglect, and exploitation of helpless people to stay in your government job. No, I'd rather be me than you, sweetheart. So that is the answer to this. It'll be on YouTube. I haven't put the partial video up there yet, but you can see those pictures on all of my Facebook pages. I got 4 Facebook pages and then my Myra Tanksley page. Now, when you go to the other pages, go from the first date that I created them, and you'll be able to see all the stuff I was seeing as a mother. I said, I bet they wouldn't want... But it's always been racism because they will say that, because they try to say that I escalate Marquise. I said, so when the white individual with autism, when they're at home, when they're having meltdowns or violent behavior or aggressive behavior, I don't want to say really violent, just aggressive behavior, that's physical aggression, verbal aggression, I doubt they're telling the white parents, the white mothers and fathers, you escalate your son or daughter. But you got to tell the black mother that. Yeah. We got to make her unfit. Yeah, yeah. How dare her come in here? She black. Don't she know her place? She ain't supposed to come in here and say nothing to us. Who she thinks she is. So that's why I said racism is very, very simple. It's not complicated. I understand it. And I educate people all the time when I have to about it. I said it's just treating the victim race negatively and differently. Now, like I said, because I used to go to autism message boards and threads, and them white parents, honey, they be jump up and down about the services and treatments for their kids, and that includes from the therapies all the way to medications. And medication can be therapy too. Ain't nobody's going to tell them that they're, that they're doing anything wrong. But I would get told that. And then they would say, yeah, you're escalating your size. Well, Marquise is venting to me, not because of me. And maybe if y'all wasn't treating him like an animal and abusing and neglecting him all the time, then he probably would say, hey, Mom, I like it here. I had a good day. I said, I'll be up there venting to my mother, too, if I was being assaulted and abused and put in sensory overload and restrained and all that kind of stuff. So all I seen was a lot of incompetence and ignorance, too. I said, good Lord, that's about as bad as the corruption and racism. So there you have it. It'll be on the Facebook pages, but I also have a YouTube channel that'll be on, because I do have a YouTube channel with my audio videos, and it never has video on it, just audio. But I do have a audio video or a video from June the 8th, 2015, and I have a partial video from June the 24th, 2021. Boy, it's a wonder I can remember all this stuff and everything, because it's just, a whole army full of racist, corrupt, evil, greedy people. And, but I keep records and I keep evidence, so that kind of helps me keep the details and the facts, because I like being able to prove what I say. I just don't throw it out there. If I say it, I can prove it 1,000%. So there you have it. And I told her, I said, this is in God's hands. It always has been. And I said, I'm just letting you know. So she wants to think that's threatening, or like she said, threatening undertones and stuff. I'm not threatening you. I'm letting you know about God. I'm not threatening you. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get the vengeance. God's going to get the vengeance. So, I guess if you want to say, if I'm trying to threaten anything, I guess I'm threatening you with God, but I don't even want to say threaten you with God. I'm letting you know about how God does things. And I think anybody should know when you're dealing with a Christian. Because the way he's done blessed me and the things he has done in my life. Because one thing, God is in every part of a Christian's life. He don't just say, oh, well, I'll take care of your employment situation or your health. He's in every part of your life. He said he'll go right in it and do what he needs to do with it, if we just trust and believe in him. And that's why I told her, I said, he's in this situation. He ain't just in other parts of my life. He's in every part of my life, and this is a part of my life. I said, because whatever you do to Marquise, you do it to me. You do it to Marquise, you're doing it to Myra. And God is right in this ring with us. And I said, he doesn't have to battle with anybody. I said, but we're not in this thing alone. So no, I don't have to threaten anybody. I'll just tell you about who I belong to. And if you're a demon, it's going to hurt you when I tell you about it. So with that, that's it. I'm almost at 60 minutes. Marquise, I love you. Jesus is Lord. He's got this. Looking forward to him bringing you back home. And I like, if the Lord wants me to, he might just move him out of the way. But if he wants to find some booties, whatever he does, I want him to let me see it like he let me see about the corrupt, wicked attorney that he took off the planet. And that's it. Jesus is Lord. And thank you for listening. Bye-bye.